Cool.
Wait, what's this?
It ain't happening. It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Oh, you looked down after. Good fuck me.
It ain't happening.
All right. Last one I was sprawled out like a. Okay, anyway. Okay, so hi, I'm Janie.
And I'm Dan.
And today we're going to talk about connection, having a tribe, a sense of community, and how that is important to helping you achieve your optimal health. And so I'll start with some stats, being the medical provider. One of the things at my current job, when somebody comes in as a new patient specifically, and when they come in continually, we always reassess at least once a year, is do they feel lonely? Are they socially isolated? And this is important because this has dramatic health implications if somebody is lonely or socially isolated. So the problem with being socially isolated, especially in the elderly population, which they're at a greater risk of it because unfortunately a lot of their friends have passed away. They maybe live in a higher level of care facility and their family doesn't live with them anymore, but it actually can increase their risk of dementia by 50%. And being socially isolated or lonely, which about 36% of Americans report that they are, rivals the health risks of smoking, being sedentary, or having diabetes. So it is something that's hugely a problem. And some people say it's an endemic within the US of loneliness. So, and the other thing is, as you're watching us on social media, if you have a high use of social media, you're actually more at risk of being lonely and socially isolated. So hopefully you're watching us in an allotted amount of time and it's not consuming your whole day. So anyway, the association between heavy social media use and increased risk of loneliness was by an NPR survey. So if you want to check that out, you can learn more about that. So
I just saw something about that as well.
Yeah.
Like the screen time and the colors of it, like that blue light, and if you're watching it in the later hours of night, it can also affect your mood, if you will. Like it brings you down a little bit if it's midnight and you're on social media with that thing shining in your face.
Right.
Little fun fact, but getting to the connection. While you were introducing all those stats there, I had a memory from the military, and where we would, as a person in leadership, we would assess new soldiers and throughout their time in the unit. And this happened, I was stationed in Fort Hood, where you had two mass shooting situations from soldiers that kind of, one was Hassan, he was a terrorist, and the other one, I don't remember his name, but he happened to be Puerto Rican and, countryman, if you will, but he went apeshit and shot people up at his unit, and I was there, not in that unit, I was in Fort Hood when this happened. So what happened afterwards, all the commanders down to the tactical level had to assess each soldier that was under their command, under their leadership, as their level of risk for suicide, risk for getting arrested, risk for actually being productive in their careers, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the categories that we would that we had to rate people in, or soldiers in, was that did they have a social circle where the other soldiers talked to them? Did they have friends? Were they connected with their family? That sort of thing. Did they have friends on Facebook? And that was one of the categories, and I remembered that because it makes sense. If we think about suicide, which is an issue in globally, but especially in this country, and it's a rising issue. Do people with lots of friends end up committing suicide? Yes, but when we lay them all out, it's probably not the majority of people.
Right. And so the mental health impact of loneliness is huge. And also, if there's physical health issues related to loneliness, it just further supports the mind-body connection that it's all part of your optimal health. So you can't say, well, I'm physically healthy, but my mind is shit, so I'm healthy. That's not, it's not true.
Yeah.
So we by nature are social beings, social animals, technically. And so when you have a good group of friends, you have your tribe, your community, you have a sense of belonging. It's proven you're able to handle, like, yes, highs, but also the lows of life better. You have a sense of purpose, you have shared passion, and you have the ability to combat loneliness. So I'm going to take it over to Dan, because I think this is something that he's very in tune with, because when you're part of a team, so whether you're a collegiate athlete or a professional athlete, or even like a high school athlete, and then you go to college and you're not that, or you're in the military and there's a huge sense of camaraderie in the military, I can only imagine, and I say that because I've observed that from you.
That's the goal, but it depends on the unit too, because some units don't have it, other units have it, and obviously the units that don't have it don't perform as well as the units that do.
But going back to the shared sense of purpose, shared sense of passion, shared passions, the ability to combat the lows of life. When you were in the military, you had your boys, mostly, because they're mostly men. And then talk about transitioning out of the military. Did you have a time where maybe you're like, fuck, this is lonely,
Good question. I wasn't expecting that. She just put me on the
Sorry,
spot. She gave me the yeah. You know what? I think that when you leave the military, and a lot of people leave and they're like, oh, I just want to get out. And I can't say I wasn't that person. It's like, oh, I just want to get out. Like I was, I was done with it. I was ready to put it behind me. But you definitely start seeing some things that you had that you don't have anymore, and that commonality with other people, that have deployed or that have done certain things, and then you don't have that anymore. Sense of purpose becomes an issue too, especially for somebody like me that I thought the military was all I would do. And then, 10, almost 12, between 10 and 12 years later, so about 11 years and some change, then I was like trying to figure out something else to do. Right. And, till that moment, the majority of the people that I would surround myself with were part of that culture, of that environment. So all my habits, all my, things that I'd identified with were related to that. So yeah, that made it a little bit challenging. I don't think so this is where I'm not going to give you the answer I expect. I don't think that I ever felt that lonely. I just felt like, okay, I'm kind of on an island here when I'm working at a different place where nobody else was in the military and I'm the only veteran, or people that don't understand where I came from and whatnot. I felt like, okay, I'm on an island, but I don't think I ever felt lonely because I have really good relationships with friends that I've had all my life.
Right. And so and I was going to get to that if you, however you answered, but you've built in sort of safeties along your way, unintentionally. Unintentionally. And not that you're friends with these people purely for this reason, but you've fortified yourself in a way by having these great friendships. And I will say 100% for sure, he has great friendships with a few guys, so much so that I have to share him sometimes. But I love it because it fulfills him in a way that I only want for him. So I think that that's great that he has these friends. But those friends are not in the military. So
out of all my close friends, I have 1, 2, 3 that served as well.
Right. But a good group of friends you have are not in the military. So you had a sense of belonging waiting for you when you got out that you were simultaneously a part of. So
you know what? That's split in half because I got 3 that were military. I have 3 that were. So it's split really well. But it's true. It's unintentionally so. Friends that I made in middle school, friends that one of them we go all the way back to kindergarten, and and fostered these relationships and maintained them throughout the time.
Right.
You know, now we're talking about one friend that I've known for more than 30 years. The others that we're talking about, it's going to be 25 years here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So maintaining those relationships helps with things like mental health, you know, and all when you're going through rough patches, people that really know you and they really know where you're trying to go, having that to fall back on and, you know, and be supported by that definitely helps in dealing with adverse situations. So the low isn't as low if you have that support structure.
Right. Mm-hmm. And having that support structure or that family or friends, some people are fortunate to have a good family structure that they're still, you know, figuratively and literally close with. And some people aren't. You know, we've become more mobile throughout the years. We move places. We're perfect examples. We've moved 3 places. We've been together 4 years. So, and if we think back about, you know, stress, how it impacts the body, it's a huge problem because we live in a very stressful just environment right now. And part of completing that stress cycle, if you are familiar with, you know, the stress happens and you need to complete it to then get it out of your system, is the end is going to your tribe, your family, your place of feeling safe after you've done the fight or flight, and that's the end of it. So unfortunately, some people, if you don't have that community or that tribe, that family, you can't go and feel safe, feel nurtured, you know, that is a problem. And I'm not saying like you need to go and have somebody hold you or anything like that, but it can be as simple as, you know, I had a hard day at work. I come home and Dan, you know, says, how was your day at work? And I can, you know, let it out. Sometimes it's great news and it's happy and I'm so excited to share it with them. Sometimes I'm fucking crying because working in healthcare is fucking hard. Sometimes it's anger because I can't help people the way I want to help people, but I'm able to come home and just release that, and it's great. Some people need therapy for that, and that's okay. But I think it's finding your resource of community, and I think a lot of people rely too much on social media for that, which is good and bad.
So you know, social media can connect you with a lot of people. So it's a tool, and it can hurt you, and it can go against you. So you can connect with a lot of good people on social media, and then eventually you meet and have these wonderful conversations or whatever. And it's like you pre-screen them, you know, and you pre-know each other because of the connection you had on social media. But nothing beats organic
in real life.
Yeah, IRL, if you will, as the youngsters would say. Yeah. It definitely is something, having an organic support structure, meaning, you know, people that you see face to face and eye to eye and bump heads in the good way, you know, like put your heads together type of thing, and discuss things and unload and, you know, and listen to them and share experiences with is very important. I think this is very overlooked when it comes to like the total package of health, because now we're talking about, you know, a very like kind of hokey, the emotional aspect of things, which some people will be like, oh, that's hokey because it's not as tangible. But if your emotions are fucked up, you're gonna feel every bit.
If people are like, that's not tangible, like tell me you haven't, like if you're in a sport and like say you're, I grew up in a small town, so I played every fucking sport. So, so say you're getting ready to, you know, do the tip off for basketball, or you're on the track line and you're like set up getting ready to sprint, and they're like, all right, ready, set. If you don't feel like you have to pee or take a shit in that second, I don't know who you are. And so then if you tell me that your mental state does not relate to your bodily function.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you know, what I meant was more in a sense that, like, it's not something, if I tell you like, hey, you need to work on your relationships and build positive relationships with people, it's not something that can carry over to, oh, that's going to get me an 8-pack, or that's going to help me lose weight, even though it will.
It will. But that's what I was trying to say. Like, some people separate out, they're like, my mental health doesn't matter what I physically look like, when it's a huge governing factor for that.
Yep. And you know, we're talking about being super stressed, like your when you're in a highly stressed state, you're definitely going to make it even harder. If your goal is to lose weight or to gain muscle, your body doesn't do it in a super stressed state.
Yeah, I mean, I could go down the whole tangent of how our brain hasn't changed over the years, so we still respond to stress like we did when we were
that's true
hunters and gatherers or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, you still respond to stress like that.
And so I think that having your tribe, your community, is how you can optimize your day-to-day life. And so speaking more of the in real life versus virtually, you have family here. Well, and we're married, so now I have family too. But I would say that I have been fortunate in the past to live places where I've had good groups of friends. And I still have those groups of friends. I have not been as fortunate since we've moved down here. I have a couple of women who I speak with, but I also haven't been here long enough to foster that, long-term relationship with them yet. So I rely on social media or phone calls, text messaging, FaceTime to keep connection with those people. And it's a little bit more of an effort because it's not as organic, we'll see each other at the gym, where I have met a lot of people. So I think we should talk about that next. But so I have to put an effort, and I can always be better at it, but I have to put an effort to connect with those people because I don't ever get off of a phone call, FaceTime, or texting battle with a friend and I not feel good. It's just, I always feel better after.
You know what, and I was thinking to those that don't believe that this is a part of your health, I would challenge people that are going through unfortunate situations, like they're in a toxic relationship or they're going through a divorce or whatever, and they gotta come home to that person.
Right.
How do you think they feel? I don't think they feel I'm ready to take care of some business, do some good stuff because I'm coming home to this toxic ass motherfucker.
Right.
So it
Right. And so I think it's the responsibility of ourselves to find those tribes or communities if we do not have them. And so it's not like when we were in school and your parents put you in a sport and you like that sport and you automatically have that tribe with that sport. Some of us may have felt it when we went to college, if it was a bigger college, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know anybody. I go to class, there's 200 people. You start to have to foster your own community.
The older you get to, the harder it is to find.
It is hard. But I will say that I think we should speak a little bit about gyms. And Dan and I met at a CrossFit gym. He was a coach.
Sorry.
But no. So I don't subscribe to CrossFit anymore. But I will never not. I did a double negative. So I will.
You're gonna give them credit for.
Yeah, I will always appreciate CrossFit.
Yep.
Because it helped foster a physical health, appreciation for strength, but most importantly, and I think the majority of people who have been into CrossFit, you'll find that the sense of community that you get from CrossFit is huge. And I think that's one of the...
they brought that to the forefront, that communal, tribal aspect, they brought it back. Because before CrossFit became a big thing, I don't think that there were many gyms that would kind of take advantage of how innate that need for community is, unless you're more on the sports performance side. And, it's something that you would see in a strength and conditioning setting out of college versus seeing, moms and dads and regular people enjoy that camaraderie as well. That's something that CrossFit definitely has to be credited for bringing, shining a light on how important tribe and community and having, a group of people to powwow with is to actually achieving your fitness goals.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we're talking about it here, because, improving your health, improving your fitness and all this stuff, having a good community and a good cheer squad, if you will, because that's what it becomes, can help you adhere to what you want to do, to adhere to the work that you have to do to achieve the goals that you're looking for.
Right.
And the chemical reactions of sharing shared experiences with other people also, put you in a better mood, put you in a more parasympathetic state, meaning more rested and relaxed state, the rest and digest state, if you will, and help you kind of fight off stressors. Yeah, that's something that we will forever have to credit CrossFit for bringing that out to the mainstream. And then you get other gym models off of that try to mimic that. That's where all these Orange Theory and the boot camp places, that's what they're going after, that tribal feel to it.
And we're not knocking out on people who want to work out alone. Like, I currently work out alone, but I feel better when I work out alone if I talk to the people around me. So I'm definitely that girl.
Yeah, I mean,
hi, how you doing?
I mean, really, even if you do, like, some people, and that this is, you got the introvert extrovert conversation as well, but it always feels good. Like, even me, like, I work out alone right now too, but whenever I get the chance to throw down with somebody and be like, oh, so and so wants to, okay, let's get it. It's like it's a better thing. Now, granted, we are advanced, if you will, in our commitment to fitness. Like, we're at a point where there's no way we're not going to do it. But if you're starting out, where there might be other distractions and things that might derail you from committing to a fitness regimen, this is where the power of connection and community come into play, where you have somebody who is there to, like, hey, if you're gonna get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym because that's the only time you can do it, and you're by yourself, you might say, fuck that, I'm gonna sleep. But if there's gonna be somebody there waiting for you, that can make you go. And next thing you know, you're putting workout after workout after workout. You're consistent, and then, and you're encouraging each other, saying good things to each other. Next thing you know, you're headed in the right direction. So now we're talking about the power of connection and building friendships and community and this sort of thing, and how that creates an overarching environment that is conducive to success when chasing health. Underrated. I think there's a lot of people that know about it, but we don't appreciate just how powerful it is, because the environment kind of dictates the habits that you fall into, and the habits that you fall into or that you adhere to will kind of dictate your results in the long term. Makes sense? What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think I have never undervalued it. I've always very much valued it, mostly because I've moved to places by myself where I didn't know anybody, and the first thing I seek out is the gym for a sense of community, because I know I'm going to meet like-minded people who care about their health the majority of the time. And it's also a place, when I moved to Dallas, I was by myself, and I didn't show up for a class one day, and like, if I had been murdered in my apartment, nobody would have known, because I didn't know. I knew one person in Dallas, that's it. And one of the coaches who I'm still friends with sent me a message like, hey, you okay? You didn't show up for class today. And I'm like, the emotional benefit that gave me, just to be like, fuck, somebody cares if I show up or not, or at the very least, somebody will know if I'm murdered, was amazing. And so I think if you're looking for ways to establish a community, it's, like we said, it's not easy when we're adults, but it's going and joining a bowling league.
It's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Going to a gym, like a community-based gym, whether it's like CrossFit, Orange Theory, different things like he said, if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, and even if you don't do that, I'm sure like regular gyms have group fitness type of settings. Or, getting one of your other friends to join you and be like, hey, I'm going to do this. You want to, recruit somebody and enroll them.
Or even if you're, and we're focusing more on working out just because that's where we've had the most experience with community. If you're in your garage working out alone, getting on a program that helps establish that sense of community. So, for example, we both follow Power Athlete, and they use this platform where you put in comments, and we follow different programs, but those programs are essentially teams, and people message all sorts of shit in the teams, and it's great because I'm like, oh, I see what this person did there is workout, we're doing the same thing. And so yes, I work out alone, but I'm part of this team, It's not as good as having somebody work out with me, but it's fucking something.
Yeah.
So
you're connecting with
yeah.
people and that sort of thing. You know, and now if you talk about the dark side of it, like when you don't have the connections, because some people will be like, oh, fuck this, I don't need anybody. Fuck that. You know, what, like the dark side, yeah. The dark side of that, you know, and one thing where I see with the messed up connections and lacking that environmental support is people that want to achieve something fitness or health wise, like I want to lose some weight, you know, I need to take charge of my health, and then their significant other could care less.
Right.
They're like, nah, I'm gonna eat Chick-fil-A every fucking day. I don't know why I picked on Chick-fil-A.
Because you love Chick-fil-A.
Because yeah, I secretly love Chick-fil-A. Or I'm gonna eat pizza. I'm gonna bring something from outside every day. You want to lose, that's you, but I'm not gonna support. And then that is a rift in the connection there, where you know, somebody's pulling in one direction, somebody's pulling in the total opposite. And how do you think that goes for that person that is trying to commit to optimizing their health? It rarely goes well, because their environment isn't supporting what they're trying to do. And you just made an uphill battle. You know, optimizing health is an uphill thing. You're fighting a lot of stuff that is in your control, and you're fighting a lot of stuff that may not be in your control, and you're trying to, you know, mitigate and account for it. But you just made an uphill battle even steeper of an uphill climb, you know? Think of it you get home and you're thinking about cooking and making something good for yourself, and there's a fucking pizza there when you get there.
Yeah.
You know, so that is a problem in connection as well. Now, the ways to combat that, if you will, or avoid yourself, because this is something that you're going to have to pay attention to in the long run if you want to enjoy the benefits of maximizing your health. Getting them, you know, having the conversation and getting this other person on board, as reluctant as they may be, you know, explaining to them why this is so important to you. And be like, hey, I'm doing this because this and this and that. So, and I just want you to respect it, you know, and that sort of thing. If you don't want to join me right now, but you know, when they start seeing the results that you're going to be getting, trust me, if you're doing it right, they're going to want to join you. That's something to discuss there as well. That's to jump on that. Another thing that just hit me, you know, blue zones.
Right. Costa Rica, California. California has one, like Lima, Linda, or something like that. I can't remember. Starts with an L.
I think there's one in Mexico too.
Japan has one.
Okinawa.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Italy.
Italy has the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, the blue zones, for those that are not familiar, are these places where people live above average.
Right.
You know, have above average life expectancies. You know, the most people that live to over 90, et cetera, et cetera. People have these like really good, long, healthy lives. And when they study the blue zones, the first thing that people focus on is usually the food. Where, you know, oh, they eat this much fish. That's where you get things like the Mediterranean diet.
Because all the different locations, they have different foods.
Yep, and they have different foods. Now, obviously, we can extrapolate that, like that word. It's not even Sunday. I'm dropping big ass words. Extrapolate. Yes. So we can assume that the food they're eating, that they live on the majority of their lives, is minimally processed. It's a lot of like, you know, the veggies, the fruits, lean meats, et cetera, et cetera. So we know that they're eating a lot of fish, blah, 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 blah. A lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit. But the overlooked aspect of it is that these people have a lot of, you know, tribal activities. They have a lot of connections as they grow old. They actually, you know, are put in these positions of like high regard and high respect by other people versus just being casted off to the side. And the community, like there's a lot of sense of community. They have a lot of things that they do together. So they have a busy social calendar, if you will. If you look at it that way, as, you know, through their entire lives, they do things with other people a lot. And that is something that can't be overlooked when we talk about living a long, fulfilling, healthy life. You're just, if you want to go alone, if you want to go far, go together type of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that?
You talked about blue zones. No, I just think it's important to have social connections to help mitigate stress from the day to day.
And healthy connections is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Like relationships that actually
yeah.
bring something positive to your life.
One of the things I love about this sort of bringing mental health into the forefront is the emphasis on setting boundaries, you know, and if somebody's, just because you join like a community and maybe there's one person in there that you don't mesh with, you are allowed to not be friends with that person.
Yeah. No, so that's something that, like, it's quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like with my motto for years has been, I got the friends, you know, like I have this very small group of friends that I've known for double digit most of my life, and you know, there's a lot of quality there, so I don't necessarily need to be out there. Oh, I need to know 100 people. I think the quality of it is going to matter. Yeah. Also, you know what's another thing that's good for connection?
What?
Doggos.
Oh, pets.
Get you pets. Get you a Rolos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Doggos. Cats are not that good.
Oh, stop.
Cats are fine.
No, but having an animal, that's one thing. When I was working from home and I was able to have Rolo at my feet when I was working from home, when I went back to the office, I wanted Rolo there. I'm sure there is studies that prove it. I don't have them readily available.
Yeah,
but I do know so much, in fact, that I have numerous times written notes for my patients that they should be allowed to have the dog with them in the house, because it is not an emotional support animal, but it does provide them. So emotional support animal. I'm sorry. The fact that I was thinking not a service dog.
Yeah, that there
not
is
a
such
service
a
dog. They didn't go through that training, but that they are there for their emotional support, and it would be of greater repercussions to not let them have that there. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of with animals too. Like there's the doggos, and like actually petting animals that, you know, does something to your brain that's very relaxing. Equestrian therapy too. They use that with veterans a lot, like.
Or they even use it. I had a patient who had cerebral palsy or spina bifida. I think I had a patient with both. They were doing equestrian therapy.
Yeah, so there's a lot there. So definitely connecting with some sort of animal as well is definitely something that is to be considered. If you don't have a pet, maybe you should get one. Yeah. Preferably a doggo.
Right.
As you can tell, I'm biased.
Yeah. So we hope this was helpful in helping you achieve your optimal lifestyle. If you need further recommendations or advice or pointing you in the right direction of how you can better achieve a tribe or a community, a sense of community, if you don't already have one, but I really hope you do, and you probably do, let us know. We'd be happy to point you in the right direction, and at the very least, set up a FaceTime with your bestie after watching this.
Yep. Tell your friends you love them.
Yeah.
And pet your doggos.
Or your cats.
Or your cats. But pet your doggos. Anyway, give us a follow.